Hi, welcome to Dal TV, and on this channel I share health and wellbeing tips, solutions and strategies. And in today's video, I'm going to share with you how to get a flatter stomach without doing sit-ups. No amount of exercise, including sit-ups and doing all those abdominal crunches, will give you that flatter stomach that you desire. So if your main goal is to get flat abs and get rid of belly fat, then you need to look at your nutrition as well. So diet is key. You cannot out-train a bad diet, as the saying goes. So if you're consuming a lot of junk food, a lot of processed foods, and foods that are high in sugar, then you really need to change your nutrition. Because sugar will increase your insulin levels as well. So you'll get those insulin spikes. And this will also slow down your metabolism. And sugar will also encourage you to have more food cravings. So it's a bit of a vicious cycle. So you want to be careful. You want to scrutinize your diet and have a look at what you are consuming. And get rid of all those foods that are actually really bad for you. And often what I find is a lot of people do know what is bad for them and what is good for them. It's just that you've got to put it into practice. And now, sugar also will encourage you to retain that body fat around your waistline. So going back to those insulin spikes. And that's one of those things that you don't really want, do you, when you are trying to achieve that six-pack. So try and really be careful with what you are consuming. A diet rich in protein can reduce overall body fat. So opt for foods such as whole grain breads and pastas and rices instead of going for your white refined sugary foods. And foods such as breads, white bread, white rice, white pasta, potatoes, those kind of things. So try and reduce those. Because if your goal is to try and get a flatter stomach, or even maybe you want to reduce bloating, then you need to be careful with what you are consuming. And carbs, especially high carbs, if you are consuming them a lot during the day, you will find that this will really, really affect the way your gut actually feels. Also opt for raw foods. So try and eat vegetables, lots of green leafy vegetables as well. And having raw foods, such as salads, will keep you fuller for longer. And they take longer to digest as well. And you also need to be careful that when you are consuming food, that you are actually very conscious of what you are eating. Be aware of what you are eating and enjoy your food as well. Don't rush the process. Chew your food thoroughly. The other thing that you want to try and avoid is eating foods that are quite dense in fat. So you want to have a look at the labels and the markings on the back of food and try and understand what all that actually means. You need to understand what you're actually buying, from the grocery store. Try and be aware of that. There are good fats that you can eat. So you can have some avocados, you can have seeds, flax seeds, linseeds. These are really good for you as well, consumed in moderation. So try and educate yourself and understand that diet is essential for our well-being. And if you want to actually achieve something, physically, you want those flat abs, then start looking at your diets. That's where you should start. That's the number one place that you should start. So I mentioned the importance of nutrition and diet, especially when you are trying to achieve a really nice flat stomach. Now, one thing you've got to remember is that it's quite easy to start dieting. Well, what do I mean by dieting? I mean going on one of these faddy diets because you want to achieve your goals quite quickly. You need to make sure that you do nothing crazy. What I'm actually talking about here is eating wholesome foods. Just being a little bit more conscious of what you're actually consuming and making a few changes. Now, if you are concerned about dieting and you are one of those people who constantly keep dieting to try and achieve your goals, then I would highly recommend that you watch this video. And this video will explain to you why not only does dieting actually affect our mental health, that it can actually leave you out of pocket as well and affect you in many other ways. So I highly recommend that you check that out. Water is really important for our health and well-being. And it's actually essential that you are consuming enough water to prevent dehydration and to prevent things such as headache and lack of focus and concentration. Now, when it comes to nutrition and absolutely getting those goals that you really want, such as your flat abs, you need to make sure you are consuming enough water. Replace all your regular beverages and your sodas and your fizzy drinks with water. And it's quite difficult to do at first, but I highly recommend that if you are having water that you actually put something in it. For instance, You can fuse it with some fruits. You can put some slices of lemon in it to give it a little bit of a zingy flavour. And lemon is really good. It's really refreshing, and it will also help to speed up your metabolism as well. And if you are trying to lose weight, then you need to make sure that you are drinking enough water, at least 8 glasses of water a day. So maybe something like 1.5 to 2.5 litres of water. That sounds a lot, but when you are exercising, you'll soon drink that water. So remind yourself that often when you are feeling hungry, it's your own brain telling you that you might be dehydrated. And by that time, when you are getting all those signals from your brain to your gut, that is often when it's a little bit too late and you are dehydrated, so you need to drink more water. Let's talk about sodium, salt. Now, salt in our diet can lead to bloating in the belly. So you're looking at getting a six-pack. You want to get flat abs, you need to make sure that you are not over-consuming salt. Now, if you're one of those people who find it very hard to reduce the salt initially because you love the taste of it or your food tastes bland, I highly recommend that you start thinking of alternatives. Start garnishing your food with herbs and spices. There is an array of spices and herbs out there. Have a look online what the different herbs are and that you could start experimenting with and putting on your food. It will make a big difference. Also, another thing that you can try is chilies and peppers, which will increase your metabolism. It's a great way of spicing up your food and increasing your metabolism and making your food tasty. So I would highly recommend that you give that a go. Now, salt can be consumed, and you can check out the salt at the intake of food on the back of the packets as well. If you do want to replace your salt with an alternative, I highly recommend something like sea salt or Himalayan salt. But again, be cautious of how much you're actually sprinkling on your food. Often what I see is a lot of people, when they're about to consume their foods, and I've seen this in restaurants, they start putting on pepper and salt without actually even taking a bite of their food first. You may find that certain foods don't need any added salt. You don't need to add anything to them. So be a little bit conscious of how much sodium intake you are actually having, especially if you are looking at getting those flatter abs. So you want those flat abs. So you need to stop stressing. So if stress plays a major part in your life, then that's something that you really need to think about trying to manage. Now, according to researchers at Yale University, your midsection is 4 times as likely as the rest of your body to store stress-induced fat. So what does that mean? Well, basically, when you suffer from stress or you're struggling with anxiety, you will find that your cortisol levels will fluctuate. And this will lead on to fat retention. You'll regain fat in your midsection. So exactly the section that you are trying to actually work on and try and condition, should I say, because you want those flat abs. So it is absolutely crucial that you learn to manage your stress. And I know it's difficult. We live in such a world where stress is, it plays a large part in our daily, everyday lives. We're running around, just basic stress, even stress where you're trying to, go for an appointment or meet someone and you're running late, you're stuck in traffic. That's all stress. So you need to try and manage this. It's really important if you want to try and reduce that fat and you want to get those flat abs. If you want to learn a little bit more about stress and how to cope and what it does to our health and well-being, then please do check out this video here, and I go into a little bit more detail on stress. So the next thing we're going to talk about is sleep. The lack of sleep can actually lead on to stressful days. And that in turn can lead on to erratic eating patterns, emotional eating, an increase in your appetite and binge eating and cravings. It's crucial that you get enough hours of sleeping. It's really important for our well-being. A lot of people forget about sleep. It's so underrated. But without a decent amount of sleep, we will find that we can't achieve those goals that we want to achieve, whether they be health and well-being goals or our goals in life generally, because it can affect your concentration, your alertness. So it's really important you get enough hours of sleeping. Especially if you want to actually get that result in the gym. You want to get flat abs, you want to get, a really nice stomach. You want to be careful because you don't want to lead into days that are going to make you eat erratically. So have a look at your sleep. Are you actually really getting enough sleep? And if you are interested in finding out a little bit more about sleep, then please do check out this video here. So you've been watching this video and you're probably thinking, what about exercise, Dal? You haven't mentioned anything about exercise. Do we need to do any exercise? You sure do. You still need to exercise. What I'm saying is do not spend hours and hours on doing sit-ups. Now, 30 minutes of cardio will get you a lot further than 30 minutes of crunches on the floor. If you are carrying excess fat, then it doesn't matter how many crunches you do, you are not going to see the visibility of those abs. You need to actually thinking about burning off that fat. So try doing exercises that will increase your heart rate, things that will heat up your core temperature, increase your circulation. I highly recommend exercises such as HIIT training, high intensity training, which is going to be really good for you. And you can actually find that you can get these sessions done quite quickly. So it's almost like you could do a 30 to 40 minute exercise program rather than spend hours on the treadmill. Do not do that. That's not going to achieve your fat burning. Now, when it comes to resistance training, you can still do those abs if you want to, but what I'm saying is do not spend a lot of time on those abdominal exercises. Concentrate on strength training using resistance. So building up lean muscle mass, which in turn will increase your metabolic rate. And that's going to help you, burn off more fat. Your body's going to turn into a fat burning furnace, and that's what you really want. Because the less fat you have round, especially around that area, then you're going to see the visibility of those abdominals. And doing resistance training is good anyway. Everyone should be lifting some form of resistance, some form of weights, whether it be using your own body weight, because, gyms are not for everybody and not everybody wants to lift weights. So you can use your own body weight. So don't waste your time doing millions and millions of abs. And it's really important to remember that our abdominal muscles need rest, like any other muscle in our body. It's only during rest and recovery that the body will be able to repair itself, and you will see the results of all that hard work. Now, I don't really want to put a downer on things, but another thing to consider when it comes to building that six-pack up or getting those abdominals is hormones and genetics. Some people are really lucky because of their genetics. They are more likely to develop those abdominals and that six-pack. But it doesn't mean that you can't, achieve that as well. But what I'm just saying to you is that some people have got a little bit more of an advantage. But regardless of anything, looking healthy and fit is important. But the most important thing is that you keep active just for your well-being as well. I've done lots more videos on Dhal TV in reference to exercises and keeping healthy and fit. So please do check those out. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you want to watch more videos, then I highly recommend that you hit that bell notification icon so that you can be reminded each time I upload a new video. Please do join me in the next episode of Dhal TV, and in my next video, I will be going over how to deal with that empty nest feeling. So please watch out for that video. Thank you for joining me, and see you in the next episode.